Barron Ridge Speakers Agency proudly presents Speaker Spotlight, highlighting one of our keynote speakers from across the nation. Now, here's your Spotlight host, Mindy East.
Hi, I'm Mindy East with Barron Ridge Speakers Agency, and I'm here today with one of my favorite speakers, Chuck Hester, out of Houston, Texas. How are you today, Chuck?
I'm great, Mindy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. And you're relatively new to my agency, but you're no stranger to the world of business, leadership, keynote speaking, consulting. And let's see, I'll read just a little bit about your bio here. You're a business architect and consultant who helps companies plan, grow, and build their future to include success. So you're also an executive LinkedIn trainer. So I'd like to hear more about that and what constitutes that for you.
Sure. LinkedIn I've been doing for close to probably 13 years. I use the term LinkedIn maven. I hate the term expert. Nobody is. They're still always learning, as I'm finding out even at my ripe old age. But I've been working in LinkedIn for, like I said, close to 12, 13 years. Master connector, probably 20,000 plus connections on LinkedIn. And I was finding that executives were not using the platform as well as they possibly could. LinkedIn is the B2B business platform. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, you should be doing business. So I started working with executives on how to use LinkedIn. I do both one-on-one and group sessions in regards to how to use LinkedIn for business, for sales, for subject matter expertise, brand equity, those type of things. And I've been doing that for that part of it probably about 8 years now.
Very good. Well, I was in the audience, and that's how we met at one of your speeches. And you were working with one of our bigger companies here in the Wichita, Kansas area. And I know you gave me a few takeaways as far as what kind of flies and what shouldn't be on your profile. Can you give us a few little tips on how we can all improve our LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, I would wish that we were visual, because the favorite slide I had was the LinkedIn profile picture, and my rule there is no kids, no wives, no significant others. Making sure that it's a professional picture, as you know, when I'm sitting here in a sports jacket and button-down shirt, very important. You really need to treat the person you're talking to. It sees your LinkedIn profile like they're standing right in front of you. So act like you're going into a business meeting or a Chamber of Commerce meeting, whatever it may be. That profile needs to reflect who you are as a business person, and really make sure that you're reflecting who you are, so that the folks that they're going to be talking to know who you are.
Well, it's your really one chance to shine and get that attention that you're seeking, so that people in your targeted demographic notice you. So I'm assuming no dog pictures?
No dogs pictures either, sorry, or cats for that matter. I haven't decided about otters yet. I'm really a fan of otters, maybe an otter. We'll see how that goes. But the selfies drive me crazy. And we talked about that in a seminar. And one of the other things was, you have a great picture and you look great in that black dress you wore. And so you basically cut the picture in half and put the picture of you up in the black dress. But then on your shoulder is somebody's hand who was holding onto you. And that's what you see. So, you've got to be really careful in that regard. It is about being professional. And making sure that you are representing yourself in a really professional business way.
I agree, and especially for the female career-minded person, I've seen pictures where there's too much skin, or like you mentioned, maybe they took a really great photo at a fundraiser event and they have an off the shoulder top. Well, it doesn't look like something that would be professional enough to wear to work. So what you're saying is don't post it unless it's going to project the image you want.
Exactly.
Perfect. We are also a big proponent. One of your more popular speeches is on the topic of paying it forward. What would you like to tell us about that?
I've been a pay it forward advocate probably close to 15, 20 years, something like that. Finding that, it's a lot easier to be able to pay it forward. You're halfway there because you know how to pay a favor back. So my best way to do that is, you get an invitation. I always come back to somebody and say, how can I be of service to you? And honestly, a lot of times people are thrown off by that. That, okay, so what are you selling? What are you trying to do? I said, no, I just really want to find out more about you, more about how I can be of service, and how we potentially could work together may be part of that, but it's not necessary. I've got a new business relationship that I just started up, and we've been in contact for close to 8 years, but never worked together. You never know when that comes back. So paying it forward is one of the things I talk about is the small big, where somebody may be looking for a job and you need an introduction in the Mid East, and I can give that introduction right away. It takes me 2 minutes to do that to get you introduced to them. But that could be the biggest thing that they've had happen to them all week or all month because they were trying to get in touch with somebody who could make a difference and help them find their next job.
Oh, I like that. And I found in my own personal life and career, if I operate from a position of giving rather than taking and having an attitude of gratitude, that's always a better place to begin.
We talk about changing the value proposition in social media. That's what it's all about. Just like you said, it's about giving as opposed to trying to receive. And what are you trying to get out of the relationship? It's more important to figure out how you can help that person within the relationship.
Very good. I like that. I wish more people had that same attitude as you. Well, let's talk a little bit about your connecting with audiences on a virtual platform. As far as, of course, right now we're just kind of hopefully coming out of the COVID-19 shutdown, but there's so many events that have been canceled for the remainder of this year. And, we're hoping that things come back very strong in the new year for 2021. But how do you engage with an audience if you don't have the live energy right there in the room with you?
I usually have about 15, 20 people in front of me that are live that, will laugh at my jokes. No, I'm kidding. Basically, you've got to meet the audience where they live. You've got to understand, what circumstances they're in. If they are in fact in an office and they're social distance, be appreciative of that. If they're at home, that's important as well. But the other part of this too is you still got to be a business person. You've got to have, a good professional attitude, and you've got to have engaging content is probably more important than anything else. And that is involved with, as opposed to just, okay, here's my 25 PowerPoint slides and here's what we're going to talk about today. I have pivoted somewhat in regards to, let's have conversations. Let's talk about the issues that you're running into with LinkedIn. What can I do? How do you solve these problems? Whatever it may be, keep them engaged and keep them interested in what you have to say. If you think that, normal keynote speakers have a tendency to engage with audience and the energy they have, but if you think you're going to be able to do that and just, be a lecturer, lack of a better way to put it, that's totally different these days on Google Meet or Zoom or wherever you are presenting from. You really need to understand the medium and the audience that you're engaging with. And it's got to be a back and forth as opposed to somebody who's just sitting there and listening to the seminar. I don't know about you, Mindy, but I'm probably on Zoom 15 to 25 times a week. And so, another Zoom seminar, oh, great. That's exactly what I didn't want this week, to be able to look at that. So be personable, understand the audience. One of the things that I do is I make sure I know who is going to be in the audience. We did that when I was up in your area and working with Cox on learning who was going to be in that audience so that I could use them in my presentation, call them out, talk to them one-on-one, because Zoom is an interesting situation. It really is. While it is a one-on-one medium, it's a larger audience. And so that's important to be able to do.
Well, I think you brought up a really valid point about knowing your audience. And that's one of the things that I do when I'm working with sponsoring organizations to book my speakers. And I always make sure I know who's sitting in that audience, and I take care of all those issues and all those details so that you as a speaker can concentrate on delivering a fabulous presentation. So what are some of your, now I would consider you also is one of my leadership and business speakers. And I'll be careful not to say expert since you are a student of life.
That's
But,
okay. I'll still answer to that. Okay.
There you go. There you go. Tell me about some of your favorite companies and organizations that you've been in front of recently.
I'll harken back to Cox. I mean, Cox, and still, I'm actively involved with them as far as Cox Media and what they've got going on. They do an incredible job in regards to the CSR, the corporate social responsibility programs, making sure that their interns, they fly their interns into Atlanta on a yearly basis, have been in the past, and they're really actively involved in social media. But the interesting part about that, as large as of a company as they are really locally focused for a variety of reasons. One being most of their media outlets are local, but they make sure that it has a professional but local feel to whatever they're posting on social media, whatever they're actively involved with. It really makes a difference as far as that goes. So that's one that I'm really excited about and happy with as far as the corporations that I've worked with.
So as a consultant, and I know you're a big social media person, when you go in and you talk to a company, how important do you feel is it for that workforce to be involved in social media?
It's a combination of control and freedom. I guess the best way to describe it. When I consult with folks on how to use LinkedIn in particular, I'm talking to them about making sure there's a central control area. In other words, there's a marketing department or HR or whatever it may be that is actually putting the messages out. What we usually do is set up a system where then the employees can share that message as far as that goes. Or if they have active employees on social media, then being able to share their message and adding the corporate spin to it, if you will, to be actively involved with that. That shows engagement for not only the audience that they're trying to reach to, but for the employee relations as well. Hey, we care enough about what's going on. Back in the day, my favorite organization was Southwest Airlines. They did a thing called Nuts About Southwest, which was a newsletter that was put out. And the folks who actually wrote the articles were the people, the baggage handlers, whoever it may be, and they became actively involved. And that changed the culture of who Southwest Airlines was as a people airline. I mean, it really did make a big difference for them.
Well, and coming out of, like I said, this COVID-19 crisis and the shutdown, do you have any wonderful words of wisdom, which I'm thinking you might have just touched on it, as far as how to get those employees excited maybe to come back to join the workforce? Maybe people have been working from their home, and as things start to open up a little bit more, what can a leader or manager do to help kind of get that workforce and those employees excited?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues we run into, and I was talking to a colleague of mine today, I think it's been close to, but at the time of this taping, 6 months since we've been sheltered in place. Houston in particular and Texas is one of the hot spots, along with California and wherever. So folks, there's some burnout. There's people who are saying, I'm not really sure I want to go back into the office. I'm not sure I want to be comfortable with what's going on. I've worked with retail organizations that are making sure that their employees and not just their customers are safe and that they're in a safe environment. You need to respect that employee and how they feel about getting back into the workforce, getting back into an actual office, make it in such a way that they will want to come back, but at the same time, understanding how they feel and what they may be going through. Because they have been sheltered in place for so long and used to just talking to a screen as opposed to interactions. One of the things that works is being able to slowly move them back in by having, meetups or employee meetings where they can socially distance but still see each other in person. That is something that a lot of people are lacking right now and are really anxious to get that to happen. So if you can embrace their feelings and you can get them back slowly, that's probably the best way to do that.
Well, I agree. I mean, we're really built for connection. And in this industry, I mean, that's one thing that we can do for a company, and bring in someone like you and speak to them. So if anybody would like to have Chuck at their next management or leadership meeting, or even as a facilitator to do a workshop in a virtual setting, they can contact me and I'll make sure that we get Chuck booked for your next event. So Chuck, on a closing, what would you say would be a silver lining in all of this? If you can give us something that you've learned or gleaned from this entire situation.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, and we were talking about this earlier, the only real silver lining for COVID, because there's two. One is if you are a good skilled employee, there's a good possibility that you can find work remotely. You do not have to be in Houston in order to work in Houston. I mean, you can be in Houston and work in Boston. And we're seeing probably till 2021, some of the larger corporations like Microsoft and Google are saying 2021, that's what we're looking at right now. So there's a lot more opportunity to be able to be actively involved in that. And then I guess the other one is we're finding that, we're starting to get a lot more personal, because as you said, we are missing that personal touch. And I can't tell you the number, as a pay it forward advocate, the number of people who have come forward and helped each other. And not made it like, okay, I've got to do this because everybody else is doing this, but because they want to connect and they want to help each other. The best way you can help yourself is to help somebody else, is one of my favorite expressions. So I'm seeing that as one of the biggest silver linings for COVID, is people are starting to care again, and it's been sorely missed.
Absolutely. That is a beautiful compensation of reaching out to help someone else. You help yourself in the process. So Chuck, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you, and I've enjoyed working with you, and we will look forward to a brighter future as we come out of this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mindy, as always.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please join us next time. For more information on booking a keynote speaker or event MC, contact Mindy East at Barron Ridge Speakers Agency.